Greetings, cyber fans. Welcome to the realm of the highly unusual. Today I want to start talking about one of my systems, System 2000 staff notation. It's so simple and so silly that I could do it in a few minutes, but you know me, I can't do that. I have to have a story. I have to have experience. Life without stories and experience, I wouldn't understand that if I tried to live that way. So I apologize for being myself. So here we go. Behind all my systems, as I mentioned in my introduction video, the introduction to a new chord symbol, I talked about the chain of events that led to me working on anything musical. And I said in that video that I wasn't going to get into the philosophical or astrological part of it, but today I will a little bit, and I'll try to be quick. Behind all this stuff that I've done over the years, which isn't great, it's just something that I hope people will use. Behind that, there were some concepts. There was the concept basically of the philosophies of Immanuel Kant, his teachings. Immanuel Kant, one of the great, perhaps one of the top 5 philosophers of all time, who lived at this time period. And also behind my thinking was the concept of the year of the rat, the Chinese concept of the year of the rat. All right? Now, if you don't believe in astrology, you don't like it, if you're very religious and you think it's too weird, that's okay. But just bear with me, because what I say is absolutely true, and it's very strange, and I don't think it's coincidence. Now, in the Chinese system, you have the year of the rat, but the Western counterpart would be Gemini. That'd be the Western counterpart. Now, Gemini stands for quite a few things. This is a primitive, infantile version, because I'm not an expert, but I'm just telling you. Gemini represents, in a nutshell, thinking, being curious, and forming relationships. You study Gemini, the sign, you can understand this, you'll figure it out, but that's basically it. So the question is does this really fit in with my life? Did it really happen? Is it true? Well, I was born in 1953, and the first time I encountered the year of the rat was in 1960. Okay? In the 1960, my grandmother, which I mentioned in previous videos, was a Brandt, Pennsylvania German. She was German, and I would sit with her at the piano when I was 7 years old, in the year of the rat, and in my life, in my mind, in my psyche, it's the first time I ever heard music correctly. In other words, profoundly. And she would sit there and she would play a German song called Du liegst mir im Herzen, which means you are in my heart, or I hold you in my heart. But that's what it meant. And I would sit there and just hit the G key. That's all I could play was one key, G. It was a G, I remember it distinctly. And also in that year, my grandmother would tell me stories. My parents weren't so good at telling stories. They didn't share much, but my grandmother, German grandmother, did. And then also, I met a girl named Linda. It's the first girl in my life who actually made me feel like a man. In other words, like the gender opposite of hers. So here we had, my first year of the rat, serious thinking, serious being curious, and I formed a relationship. And had my family not been slightly dysfunctional, and had her family not been very dysfunctional, I likely would have married her. You don't really need to go too far on this planet to find your mate. Back in the day, it was real easy. The next year of the rat, 1972, the year of the rat. For some reason, I got this urge. I graduated from high school in 71, but in 1972, I ran back to the high school I graduated from and asked to borrow a music theory book. They let me borrow it, and I had it for a long time. And I was looking for something, but I didn't know what, because I wasn't awake yet. In the Buddha sense, I hadn't woken up yet. I didn't wake up till 1988, but I was looking for something, but I didn't know what. Then I bought a really nice accordion. The brand name was Yorio, Iorio. Yorio. It was beautiful, electronic with the organ sounds and all that. And I met a girl named Sandy. And the year of the rat, did we have thinking? Oh yeah. Did we have being curious? Oh yeah. Did we have forming relationships? Well, you tell me. I married her. She was beautiful. I loved her until 1981. She dropped over dead. But she left me with a son. My bestest buddy. She left me with a son. Okay? Now, the next year of the rat, which I mentioned in the previous videos, was 1984. And I received my subscription issues of Keyboard Magazine, which I mentioned repeatedly. All right? And a friend of mine asked me to join his band, which I did, although we weren't that good. And I met another girl named Linda. Now, Gemini, year of the rat, was it true? Was there thinking? Oh yeah. This Linda here, brightest woman I've ever known. No one holds a candle to this woman. Being curious? Absolutely. Forming a relationship? Best relationship that I think I could possibly ever have. Right here. Alright? The next year of the rat, 1996. I bought that book by John Mahegan, which I showed you in previous videos. That got me started on my scale thing. I wrote Modern Music Systems, the book that I showed you several times. This is the book I'm sharing with you, so you don't have to buy it. I'm telling you these things. And I did not meet a woman in 1996. The only year I didn't meet a profound, beautiful woman. But I met a Comanche Indian. An actual Comanche Indian. Beautiful musician, played the flute. And he told me my name in Comanche. My name, German-Italian, silly boy, was two shadows. Now I explain that in my astrology and psychology videos. I met a man who is a Comanche, a pure blood Comanche. And the Comanche people are known as the snake people. I was born in the year of the snake, the Chinese year of the snake. Now, you tell me that's coincidence. So, moving right along, 2008, I published the book I mentioned, and I met another beautiful woman, Erica, from which I learned many, many spiritual and psychological profound things. Year of the rat. All right? Now, getting back to Immanuel Kant. This seems far-fetched, but it's God's truth. Immanuel Kant finished his masterpiece in 1780. The year of the rat. He published it a year later. It was printed a year later, 1781. It was the Critique of Pure Reason. It took him 12 years to work it out. 3 months to write it. I have a book. Hardly anybody buys it, which is okay. That's fine. No big deal. Took me 12 years to work it out. 3 months to write it. Modern Music Systems. In 1996, the year of the rat. Think what you will. That's the truth. Now, when I was working on any of my systems, I didn't know it at the time. It took me a while to figure it out. But I was kind of following the pattern or the cycle or the thought process that I learned from Immanuel Kant. Actually, I learned it from Arthur Schopenhauer because Immanuel Kant is very difficult to read, So I'm reading Schopenhauer and I understand Kant better. Not completely. I don't think anybody does. But I understand it good enough to tell you this. Kant would have a system where you have stimulus, you have perception, conception, etc. But I broadened the process. I made it a little more broad, and I'll explain it this way quickly. Inception. We start in the beginning. This is the beginning. 1960 at the piano. It started in the beginning. Year of the rat. Okay? Interoception. Thoughts coming from the inside. Intero, inside. From my mind, my psyche, my thinking, my meditation. Okay? Exteroception. Stuff from the outside. The books I showed you. The things I listened to. The things I read, etc. Then, perception. I perceive things. I'm starting the process of perception, as Kant would say. All right? Then, I organized the perceived objects and things, and I developed conceptions. And that is what I keep showing everybody. They get sick of hearing it. Really, it's like, would that guy please stop making videos? All right? Then you get to the part where I took Immanuel Kant's thing and I took it a little bit farther, as Schopenhauer would and did. And you have a problem here. Let's say somebody has a really good idea. Let's say somebody has an idea. All right? Well, three things can happen. We can enter into the realm of deception. The things that the person offers could be wrong. They could be untrue. And people are deceived. Deception. All right? Then there's exception. Okay? These things might not be accepted, not be embraced. I have systems, I even have a book, and time will tell. It takes time. Will it be embraced? Will it be accepted? Or will people say, this is an exception, we don't want this? And then finally, the most beautiful thing is reception. Okay, reception. Reception meaning received, admitted, embraced. Okay? So that's where Kant came into play. Immanuel Kant, all right? And the year of the rat. I made that perfectly clear. You say, that's silly, I don't care. Well, I had to say it because it's such a beautiful thing. You can't make this up. It's impossible to make this up. You'll see this when I get into my astrology videos. So, today, I'm supposed to be talking about System 2000 staff notation. And the key thing, the only thing in the system that really stands out, it's the only one feature, is the multi-designation note. Okay? Now, I cannot give you an exact date because I can't remember, but I'm going to just claim right here in this video that the copyright was 1998 by me, but I can't exactly pinpoint a time, a day, a month. I can't do it. I'm just telling you this, that through the concept of the year of the rat and through the beautiful workings of the mind of Immanuel Kant, I got to think a thought. One thought. In this case, one thought. Right? Now, before the internet, pre-internet, before 1990, there wasn't much I could do except go to libraries, read, think, meditate. That's all I could do. And then peri-internet, in other words, during the process of having the blessing of having internet, where you can go on, which we're still in this process here, this period, you can go online and you can find great things. So I have to mention that I found, to this day, I found 58 alternative music notation systems. 58 of them. But only 2 stand out to me. One is called Simplified Music Notation. Peter Hayes George invented it. He was a Canadian, I'm pretty sure. And he published it in 2008. And the thing it has in common with mine is he used the 5-line staff. All right? He used the 5-line staff. And He lived from 1927 to 2012, and he worked on his system since 1977. It took him a long time to finalize his system and then publish it. And a few people actually use it, but not too many. And the other system I noticed that caught my eye was one called chromatic Nidana or Nidana. I'm pretty sure it's a Swedish word. That's what Dan told me. He's a man from Sweden. And 2011 was the year I noticed on the graph that I saw. And he incorporates in that alternative staff notation idea a rectangular node head. All right. So these are the two that caught my eye. Out of 58, these are the two that helped me say, you know what? I have this old idea. I think I'm going to go on the internet and talk about it. I think it's worth talking about. So that's what we're going to do in the next video. I know this took a while, but I'm going to show you something so simple and so silly. You're going to say, oh, good heavens, why didn't I think of that? And maybe somebody might even like it. We will find out. Thank you for being incredibly patient, and I hope to see you at the next video. Good night.